Hey guys, Hello Bella here. I am here with Rob from Oink for Influencers, and we are going to talk about some strategies behind the Amazon Influencer Program. So, Rob has been nice enough to dedicate his time to us, so I'm going to try to squeeze out all of the information that I can out of his big old brain.
Well, nice enough. I would say the adverse of that is true. That nice enough to let me come on and blab like I know. I mean, I do know what I'm talking about, but I talk so much because there's so much stuff going on in my brain that maybe it's a little bit much. So I appreciate a place to put it. So thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Well, we are just going to get through some questions. I just want to know, like, what does your day look like? I'm assuming for you, you have certain things that you do every day, some things you do weekly. What do you think is the time consuming parts of your day that are pretty much baked into your routine at this point?
Yeah, is chaos a thing? Is that a thing that is that a good answer? Because I
Yeah.
mean, it's so for me it's a little bit different, probably because of Oink and because the time that I have to do there. But before the extension existed, like what was I doing as an Amazon influencer, sort of day in and day out, that kind of helped me get up to the point where I am at. Well, certainly part of it is consistency, right? Like when you talk about like what it is that I'm doing, it's consistency isn't a tangible thing, but I was telling somebody last week about this that everybody that I know that does this on the Amazon influencer program on like a high level, they have one thing that they do, even if their strategies are like different from each other, and it is they do consistency it's something every day. They have basically a set of steps they're doing every single day. So that's probably like this sort of like theoretical answer of what I do every day is I'm committed to that activity of being consistent. Other than that, I think that I simplified the process so much based on what Amazon says that they want from us, which is they want us when you're talking about on-site videos specifically, right? If not talking about like off-site stuff, and we talk about the shop or the influencer program and shoppable videos, they just want you to make videos for products that need videos and try to help them sell stuff. And so for me, I get up, I'm like, oh, what is it pretty much every single day? So, and we'll talk about creator connections, I'm sure, here in a little bit, but over the course of the last year, that certainly has shifted some of my activities. But usually I get up first. I'm looking at creator connections, seeing what's cooking over there, taking a quick look at the campaigns, and just seeing if there's anything new. I typically don't start really diving into that till later in the day, but it is the first place that I open up whenever I sit down, which is actually a shift from what it was like in the first half of the year. In the first half of the year, before creator connections started to like cook, the Amazon side was my first thing every single time. I'd get up and I'd look at that. Um, but I spend a decent amount of time every day looking through campaigns, looking for opportunities, looking for what products actually need me to put videos on them. And so looking for opportunities there. I spend a decent amount of time like going through like doing the product research, messaging brands and creator connections, looking for investment opportunities. And then honestly, that's sort of it. I mean, it's that and then create, like it's sort of like the front part. And then when stuff comes into my house or at my front door, I'm sitting and creating and I'm uploading. I don't do a lot of, there's some peripheral stuff that I do, like little activities sort of here and there. But what I'm talking about, sort of like, what are the consistent threads throughout the course of the last year? It's just kind of like that. It's like sitting down and making sure that I'm allotting the appropriate amount of time for the sort of return that I want to get out of the stuff. I think that too many people treat the influencer program like a side hustle, and they're getting side hustle returns back out of it. And for me, as long as I keep touching it, the strategy can evolve over time. What I do every day has evolved over time. But for me, it's a matter of as long as I'm sitting here paying attention and doing things, it's okay if the strategy becomes chaotic in some degree and dynamic. Um,
Right.
I tell the story that my first year in the program, I did something every day. I don't know if there's a single day in the first year where I didn't sit down and do something with the program, whether it was product research, whether it was uploading, whether it was ever. And that's after my regular salary job that I had, after everybody went to
Yeah.
bed and kind of whatever. So
Yeah.
to me, that's more than the thing that you do. That the consistency will help to guide and cultivate what you do over time, because you're touching it so much, you start to go like, this is working and this isn't. But without that consistency, strategy can't do anything without the consistency part. You can have a fantastic strategy and a fantastic schedule of what you do every day whenever you sit down, but if you're not being consistent with it, like the strategy is just absolutely useless. And actually the other side of that's true too, where you don't even have to have a strategy yet, but if you're consistent, it'll come, right? That'll start to
Right.
incorporate. So consistency becomes, to me, the anchor of the entire thing.
Yeah, I think I was definitely consistent in the beginning, consistently doing things that weren't making money, but like
Yeah.
I was working on it every day. I was building the muscle. And so I was like, okay, I know I need to make videos. I can at least do that. I can at least produce videos every single day.
Yeah.
I know I need to be learning because obviously I'm not doing something right because I'm not making like as much per video as I need to do. And then that kind of led me to be like, oh, okay, product selection matters. You
Yeah.
can't just go review everything in your house and call it a day.
Yeah, there's a pretty big group of us that, we worked towards that pain point eventually, in a weird way. Like you said, you were working, but nothing, the things weren't doing what you'd want it to do, which on paper doesn't look very valuable, but it actually worked. The consistency worked us towards a pain point that we needed to experience, which was like, oh wait, something is off here. And it forced us to look and go, well, what matters? What is the thing that I should actually be doing? So I look at that period, sort of that first year, and even though I was consistent, much like you and a lot of the people in the program, this is a very common thing of like that first year, when you look back, you go like, boy, I really blew it. I as far as like on paper, what was happening, the things that we were choosing, but it was all strategy that we were just like learning over time, and it was evolving. And basically it just hurt enough to the point where you look back and you go, this doesn't make sense and it's not lining up. What do I need to change? And
Right.
without that pain, I don't know if we would have been so like, I don't know if we would have ever got there in the way that we got, or maybe it would have taken like much longer because it had just been like a slow bleed. It felt more like a moment for a lot of us right around that same time. We were like, something's off here and we need to make adjustments. It's not just about how many videos you make anymore, right? That was a big part of a lot of our mistake was
Mhm.
there had been this advice coming down from the people that were there from 4, 5, 6 years ago, because for them it was a lot about
Yeah.
volume, and we reached a point where so many people had started coming into the program and the competition got a little bit more dense, and so we went from sort of a volume based strategy to a product research type of strategy, and that was new at the time, and it took us a little bit to get there, but I look at that time as like there's a silver lining to what it was that we were doing. Without it, I don't know if I'd have eventually got to where I got to.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to put in the reps. And my videos, I remember the first 100 videos really kind of sucked, and then they get a little bit better and a little bit better, and
Yeah.
some of them still suck to be honest. But it just depends on how much time you want to put into the videos. I've certainly realized like, oh, it's not actually about the videos. I mean, it is in essence about the videos, but it's about cranking them out and finding products that aren't so crowded with influencers that you can actually make a little bit of money on before everybody else comes in.
Yeah, and to us, what sucks might not even matter to the person that we're making the videos for. I mean, this is something I've talked about quite a bit over the last couple months. Is like, and we'll probably talk about this in a little bit. Is like, if we remember who we're making the videos for in the end, like, and why they're watching our video to even start with, right? It's a customer on the other side looking at a carousel, looking at a product, and they happen to click on our thing, but they're not doing it because they're bored, right? They don't watch our videos because like there's a TV for that. That's not where they're there. It's because there's a product that they've got interest in that they're just not quite convinced of something. And so they're not looking at us necessarily for like great quality or to be Martin Scorsese or to like have these like fancy videos. They're basically going like, hey, does this thing smell weird? Like that's what they want to know. And so I
Right.
think that sometimes we get very wrapped up in our own way of like the types of videos and making them perfect from like the creator standpoint, especially if you're a creative type. Like we get
Mhm.
very sort of wrapped up in our own way. We forget that the person on the other side, they just want to know if it's heavy. They want to know how big the thing is. Like they want those questions answered, so they can figure that they're on the edge of the cliff. They're just looking for somebody to give them what they need to be able to jump off. So I think sometimes we do slow ourselves down because we get so wrapped up in perfectionism, or our own sort of perception of our expectations of ourselves, and we associate that, well, if the more I do of that, the more money that I'll make. But really it's not that. It's really what, if I can just answer the questions of the person that gives me 30 seconds of their time to watch the video, then I make more money.
Yeah, absolutely. I really have figured out like, okay, if I can just put in some value, like the smallest nugget of value, that's going to be more than what the people who are doing here just like hold up the product
Mm,
without really giving any knowledge of the product. I think I reviewed like these owls that are like owl decoys,
mm,
and I put in the review like they won't work unless you do this. And the this was basically like you have to move them around, otherwise the animals catch on and they realize it's a stationary object.
Mhm.
But that video has sold like 130 something owls because it's like you're telling them something that they didn't know. Obviously, they have a problem, so you're trying to help them, I guess, like get to the solution, whether
Mhm.
that be an ego-based problem or a literal problem in your garden or a problem with something in your home.
Yep.
It's basically like you said, you're just kind of shoving them over the edge to make that purchase.
Yep. Yeah, and if you just reiterate the listing description, right? And this is something that I'm sure we'll probably get to in a little bit too, which drives me nuts. I'll watch a video sometimes. Somebody will ask me, like, look at their storefront, and I like, well, why am I not converting very well? You know, and I'll look at it and I'll go, all you're doing is you're just saying the the things that was on the listing. Like that's not, and they already knew that. Like you didn't add any value to that because they're watching it. Customer reads it, says, okay, it's got 3,000 psi, or it's 10 pounds, or it does smell weird, whatever the case is. And then they're watching your video because there's something in the middle of that. And if all you do is you go on and you're like, just so you guys know, 3,000 psi on this, it weighs 10 pounds, and guess what? It smells. And you can make a nice video like that, but if you think about the person that's watching it, they already know that thing, and you didn't offer any additional value. So it's finding that way of going, putting yourself into the shoes of the person that's actually giving you their time, especially in a packed carousel, right? There's options for them to choose from. If you're lucky enough for them to click on your video, they're looking for something specifically by watching your video. So the more that we can put ourselves into the shoes of the customer and go, why are they watching? What is here that they're not getting? And maybe I can be the person that fills in those gaps for them. It's one of my favorite things to talk about right now is like buyer intent.
Yeah, there's a lot like logic that goes into why is someone making a purchase. So for us, I guess like the whole thing is get as many products as you can that convert and make a video as fast as you can with the highest quality that you can. Seems to be what I've gathered from the last year of doing this. So I kind of have the opposite problem where I have like too many products, I think. And so I've really been having trouble narrowing it down because I go to like a Amazon liquidation store and they have like everything you could think of like for $1 or $2.
Yeah.
And so like I'm really struggling to like I'll come home with a bag of 50 or 100 things sometimes, and I'm like at the end of the day I'm like, why did you buy all this? Like you need to narrow it down a little bit. So I'm just kind of having trouble with my focus, I guess, because it's like this is very much a time management problem.
Yeah. I mean, first off, what a horrible problem to have where you got so many things.
Awful.
Somebody's going to watch this video and go like, hey, that doesn't sound too bad. But when you're in it, you're right. I mean, you know, I had done a feature in the extension last month for brand messaging stuff, and I had to test it like a lot. In order to test it, I had to send out a bunch of messages. And next thing I knew, I was, and again, I'm not trying to brag, just trying to, it all sounds good till it happens, right? Whenever all of a sudden you've got 50 products sitting there waiting for you to, and you have other life things going on, and you have brands that have either sent them to you or you bought it, whatever the case is, you need to be making these videos. It does become a little bit of a pressure thing. One is, I think when somebody tells me that, except for myself, because I know what my strategy is, but I think when somebody tells me they've got too much to do and not enough time and they're getting buried, I would first start to go like, what is your vetting process like? Like, what is your level of what you're choosing to say yes to? Because even though you go to the store and something might cost you the buck, or you get it for discount, or your family's got a whole house worth of stuff that you can go in and create. Like, if the stuff isn't already selling at some sort of a decent level, then it doesn't matter if you can shoot the video for free because somebody else already had it. It doesn't matter if you can get it for $1. It sounds like a great deal. And maybe out from a product acquisition standpoint, maybe, but from a commission creation standpoint, it may not necessarily be. So I think that one, if you're truly getting products in that are actually viable, that are meeting Amazon's 2 criteria, I talk about this a lot on my videos. Amazon just says 2 rules and when you're choosing a product, it just needs to meet these 2. And if it can, then you're in a higher likelihood of actually making money. One is, it's got to be selling, right? The more, the better. Like 1,000, 500, 50 gets a little bit, 50 and 100 or kind of a little bit whatever. But I mean, if it's selling, if it's not selling, to me, it's basically I'm out. And I'm not going to say yes to something ahead of time unless I have verified it ahead of time, right? So that's the first thing. And then if it's selling, your video has to have a place to go. It has to have a carousel somewhere that's got a slot for you. Otherwise you're waiting for Amazon to have some sort of mercy on you or favor on you and boot somebody else out of carousel, which
Yeah.
is the opposite of having mercy or favor. And so that's a higher it's a higher hill to climb. So I think for me, all comes down to now, if you're getting products like that match those criteria
Mhm.
consistently, then your commissions should, and you're getting so much that you're going to get overwhelmed, or let's say even you're getting a lot, whatever the case is, your
Right.
commissions should be reflecting that. And if they are not, if your commissions aren't going like that, because it should
Mhm.
with those particular criteria, if they're not, then there's something at the product selection level that's not correct. The commissions basically are always supposed to be going like this. As you're continuing to scale and become more efficient and get better at product selection, they should be doing some version of this, or maybe a slightly lower incline. Rarely should they flatten out unless you're not recording enough, right?
Mhm.
You could do great products, but if you're only doing it 3 times a week, 3 videos a week, you're probably going to something
Right.
like this. And so I think that if you're getting so much truly viable products that match those two criteria and it's too much, you probably have to figure out how to scale it. Like figure out you may not, it might be an issue where you're not efficient enough with your processes.
Right.
You're taking too long to make videos. You might have to start making decisions on which video is going to take you the longest to make. Like usually
Writing
whenever I'm doing
it
my,
down.
well, I
I'm
mean,
writing it down.
I actually looked at something this morning. It was some sort of a drone thing or something, and I saw it and I was just like, that is an opportunity for me. And then I saw it was going to require me to actually like shoot footage with it because I had a camera and stuff in it, and my
Mhm.
brain went, it's a little bit too long. Like I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
like get up from here and go and do a thing. I have to create video and figure out a lot. And so that might be the other thing too, is you're looking at product, not just its viability for sales and if it's got a place for you, but also like, what does this require for me in order to do it? And is there another option that maybe isn't selling as much, but I
Mhm.
can get that video done faster? So again, but this kind of goes back to the strategy part. As long as you're being consistent with it, that stuff will start to suss itself out over time.
Yeah.
You'll get a little bit of a feel for either getting faster, getting more efficient, or start getting a little bit of a nag of like, this product feels something to me. Like the
Yeah.
metrics look good, but it's a little bit off there. Everybody's answer to this is honestly going to be kind of different. It's all kind of about the time that you have allotted to yourself, what you're trying to achieve in the program. But for me, if I can get into a situation where I'm getting too many products that are truly viable based off of like my vetting metrics,
Mhm.
I'm gonna probably try to break something else in order to accommodate more videos or
Okay.
sleep less. I don't know if I'm just
Yeah, no, that's me too. Because I'm in my mind, I'm like, I'm losing money because a lot of these products do have campaigns, and
yeah,
that's another thing I try to narrow it down by like, okay, if I can get 100 items, they literally sell me an IKEA bag full of stuff for $10, and it'll
hmm
be like really nice, like skincare and just, parts,
yeah,
things that people wouldn't necessarily recognize, the average consumer wouldn't want, but like it's left over.
yeah,
And so I guess my vetting has been so far like, is there either a campaign going for it?
yeah,
And is this going to be a high enough commission to where if I only sell this 5 or 10 times, is it worth making
yeah,
a
yeah,
30-second video for?
yep,
So is there like a minimum commission that you look for? I know it's kind of like it depends on the amount that the product sells, but
yeah,
I mean there's some things that I sell that I only make a quarter, and there's some things I sell that make $6 or $7. So it
yeah.
doesn't take a genius to figure out like, okay, well, which one do you need to be focusing on?
Yeah, I don't pay any attention to what it can make me at the end. Like when you say like there's a certain commission you have to get. To be honest, I don't ever think about that. I look at the upfront metrics on it and then presume that it's going to do the thing that it needs to do after that. So, if I'm looking at a product, for example, let's say just regular products. Let's creator connections aside. Let's just talk about basic Amazon products. I'm looking
Okay.
at the product on the listing, and if it's selling, and if it has especially an upper carousel that has an empty spot for me, or at least a couple empty spots,
Mhm.
um, if I'm purchasing, it has to basically have all empty spots. I'm very, very tight whenever I'm investing in products, if I'm going to
Mhm.
do that. But otherwise, you know, if it doesn't match those two pieces of criteria, I don't think about it in terms of like, what is this ultimately going to make me? Because what it can make me today may not necessarily be what it's going to make me the next day. If I participate in a product that it already has 3 videos on it, and I'm the fourth person that's on there, right?
Mhm.
It's going to fill up within a matter of another couple of weeks. And then all of a sudden, I had very little time of exposure on that because there was already 3 people there before me. I'm going to get probably bumped out as soon as a couple more people show up. I'm not going to be on that carousel for very long, unless maybe later I get rotated back in and out. But it's a high hope that I don't typically participate in. But if you're shooting for products predominantly where there's nobody else there already, or only like one, then your exposure time on that carousel is much longer. It takes longer for other people to show up and eventually bump you out. You will get eventually bumped out if it's a product that's selling good enough, but it's hard for me to probably play the what commission is this going to make me gain, because I think it's such a dynamic world. I sort of just look at it from the product level and just
Okay.
go like, based off of the metrics and based off of what Amazon tells me is going to move the needle, does this move the needle according to, is it selling and is there a place for me? And if those two things are yes, then I'm probably in some form or fashion on that particular product, without even considering the after. I don't think about which category it's in for the commission rate. I don't think about any of that stuff. Those are the only two metrics I predominantly look at. If you're talking about creator connections, obviously it changes the game because the commission percentage is so much higher and you don't need as much exposure with a creator connection campaign. So you can sell fewer and actually make more money because of the power of that particular campaign. So with those, I'm usually looking at like, one, got to be careful with campaigns for how many days are remaining on them. You don't want to make decisions based off a product that ends in 8 days. You're going to get totally boned on that because it's going to be over before it even gets to your house. You're
Right.
toast, unless there's another. So you really got to watch that. Pretty much anything that's selling 1,000 units a month for me on if it has a creator connection campaign, I'm open to asking for it for collaboration purposes almost every single time. I don't care about the video count at that point because I feel like 1,000 units a month, I don't need much exposure and I can do a little bit of something. So it's worth the risk for me in that particular case. Investments for me are still kind of the same. If I'm going to do an investment on the creator connection side, it's still got to have little to no influencer competition, and which there's a ton of that on there. If people just look like I'm buying stuff almost every single day at this point from creator connections with those particular metrics. And so this also is there's some flexibility here too, right? This goes back to your strategy and sort of there's some people that don't do any investing. There's some people that only invest. There's some people that are willing to participate in products that are more saturated or selling less. I think for me, I saw the needle move the most when I stuck to my guns and just said, if it has to be selling a certain amount and I have to feel comfortable with whatever the video situation is. And I take it on like sort of a case by case basis. I don't know if that even answered the question. I rant about this program.
You're
Okay.
good.
I started talking about
that makes for a really easy interview. I don't have to think that much.
You could probably just set it on record and go and do something and just give me a question and you can come back 45 minutes later and I'm still I may not even answer the original question, but I am answering something. Okay, good.
Yeah, you absolutely did. And I mean, I think I need to narrow it down a little bit. From what I'm gathering, I think I might still be casting too wide of a net. And that's what's the time constraint, because it's like I'm not being as picky as I could be. And like my grandpa told me, you'll go broke buying bargains. And it's like, something that's a good deal is not necessarily going to be the most productive thing. I just purchased like my first product specifically to review for creator connections. Usually I've gotten them all for free, but I'm like, well, this is a really good opportunity. There was nobody on it. It was paying like 50%. It was starting to get some sales. It was a newer product. So I was like, okay, let me just try this. So I'm not used to spending much money on this business. I guess my background has always been like reselling. So I've sold on eBay and Amazon for like 10 plus years. So I'm like, I can get products for next to nothing. I'm going to be a genius. But it's like, obviously you can't really even get on the carousel if there's already 50 or 100 people. So when I started watching your videos, you were like, don't even bother. I was like, oh, okay. All right. He's just saying it.
I know.
Selling it like it is.
Because even to your point there, you don't have a slot and maybe they put you on, right? But if there's truly a backlog, how much time are you actually going to get if you get on there? Like it's especially in comparison to like, there's so many other opportunities that have a space for you like today, and so, and granted, it does take longer to find those. And I think that sometimes what people do is they choose these other products that don't actually really match their criteria, but it alleviates that burden of feeling like I got to find something, right? So the more that they allow themselves to sort of move past whatever their barriers are and what they know they should be doing, because they feel like that pressure, and they'll go, well, so what if this thing already has 5 videos in it? It's selling really well. But then all of a sudden you're giving up then the opportunity for that other product, which was also selling well, that did have some space, even though it might have taken you a little bit longer to get there. So sometimes I think we do that. We kind of get into this mindset of like, we negotiate with ourselves or against ourselves, I think, with like,
Right.
here's what we know we should be doing. And here's something that if I just said yes to, maybe it makes me feel a little bit better that I did the thing that I was trying to set out to do, because it's taking me too much time to find a better situation. So I think sometimes it's just a matter of, you got to stick to your guns once. And if you don't have it, you just don't have it. And you don't have to, lax on your criteria for other stuff just to feel like that you got it, because chances are the commission return at the end of that, by choosing those other products that were outside of your peripheral sort of criteria, probably going to make you regret that decision by
Yeah.
letting go on some of those.
What the opportunity cost, I guess,
Yep.
of doing one thing versus not doing another thing.
Absolutely.
I've kind of read like way too many business books because they all start to sound the same after a little while. But like one of the things that stuck with me from one of them was like income producing activities. What are you doing that is producing income? Because there's so much stuff you can do that ain't making you any money. Like
Yeah.
I know checking my sales every day is very fun, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's like, how much am I gonna spend 30 minutes like digging into that, or should I just be making more videos?
Yeah. I struggle with that, certainly with the extension, and trying to make sure that people are aware, that when you have a tool like that, you can see benefit from using the tool usually immediately, because it's taken the body of work you've already done and it's getting more out of that. But unless you're doing growth stuff, right, income producing type of activities, that whatever you were making will start to dry up without you focusing on stuff that actually is leading you towards growth, right? And so I've tried to kind of like beat that bush. Is that the right? It's not the right
Yeah,
phrase. Beat the horse.
that
Is there a horse beating
sounds,
situation?
yeah.
With people have just gone like, hey, focus on stuff that actually moves the needle. And sometimes that stuff that moves the needle is hard and it takes more work. And so people, sort of like with product selection, they find themselves letting themselves off the hook of doing what's required in order to move the needle, because they can also go, yeah, but I can stay busy doing this other thing over here too. And it's true, you can, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that thing over there is a growth related activity. And then you're going to look back 30 days from now and go, but I've been doing that thing every single day. And it's like, well, yeah, but it wasn't really kind of about the growth. So totally with you on that.
Yeah, I have ADHD. I'm pretty sure. I'm not going to diagnose you, but it seems like maybe you have a little bit of, just like I'm always looking for opportunities. I'm always like, oh, that's cool. I should pursue that. And then I'm like, I don't have time for that. I cannot do that and do this. Like you cannot do 10 or 15 things really well.
Yeah.
You really need to pick like 2 or 3 things to do really well. But I was going to ask you, how do you like, as far as your performance, how do you track that? Do you look at it every day, every week, or is it something that you just kind of see, okay, as long as it's going up like this, then I don't really care that much?
I am one of the least organized people. In fact, whenever I built the extension at first, some people were like, hey, can you put like a button in here to copy our ASINs? And I'd go, why? And they go, well, because we're going to put them over in this spreadsheet and do it. And I'm like, you lost me at spreadsheet. Like, what do you mean you're going to put them in a spreadsheet for some other thing? I've never, it's always been a flaw of mine that organization has always been a blind spot for me. I'm not good at it. My brain it barely works on the things that it works on, and the things that it doesn't understand, it's just like beep, bop, boop, like no chance of understanding what that is. So pretty much for me, it's a matter of, I just monitor sort of the commission trajectory. That's pretty much all that I do. And I basically let that kind of give me a feeling for if I'm on the right pathway with the decisions that I'm making or not. And outside of few situations where, there may be an Amazon reporting issue going on or some sort of weird account thing I'm going, if we're talking about purely, am I doing the right things? I just look at the number at the end of the month of the whole thing. There are tools that like, so I'm actually getting ready to release one right now, not right now, but like in the next couple of days, that will take like your sales report and it'll take the like top 10% of your sales report and then compare that to the bottom 10 of your sales report. And then it cross-references it to your order history. It's like whatever you've ordered in the past. And it'll give you a side-by-side comparison of your top performers versus the stuff at the bottom and show you, well, what did these look like? How many videos do they have on them? How many are the average selling per month, etc. And it was shocking to me to see a side-by-side comparison of the stuff on my sales report and the sort of profile of a product that's selling really well and converting for me versus the profile of one that wasn't selling hardly anything at all. It's like that stuff, I can't do that in my own brain, but like using something like that where a computer can basically kind of do it for me, to me, that does start to matter, because it helps me to sort of recalculate and reformulate my strategy and things going forward. But from a metrics standpoint, I don't pay attention to conversion rate. I don't pay attention to, I watch clicks sometimes just to kind of get a feel for like click trajectory, especially if I'm looking at somebody else's storefront and I'm trying to like diagnose an issue that they might have. But generally speaking, it's especially because I did so much work on that first year and my commissions didn't really go up.
Yeah.
I feel like, to me, once I started making the right decisions, that was the most evident thing to me that was the commission started to finally do that again. So I pretty much just rely on that. I check it every day, most days. Some days I don't, maybe because I've been around for a little while and I'm just, it sort of is what it is. I don't get super wrapped up unless like Black Friday weekend or something. Then all of a sudden I'm very aware of like what's going on. But generally speaking, I try to keep my head down. I stay aware of my overall numbers as far as the commissions. But other than that, there's not a lot of other individual metrics that I try. I will also say, though, there are people that I talk to in this program that are way more organized than me, that have been able to branch out outside of the influencer program because they do have sort of that mentality of being able to go like, okay, if I take this number and I take this and I can do this thing over here, and they probably are able to build better outside of this program than me because they do sort of have that skill of thinking about like organization and tracking and stuff like that. For me, though, I'm very, very simple-minded in that sake. It's just like, is the money going up or down? Cool.
Yeah. Well, that one's the most obvious to me too. So I guess as you've been getting products, I'm assuming you have some room in your house that is full, or basically just takes up an inordinate amount of space in your home. Do you feel like your family is involved in this? Is this something that they support? Do you do most of the videos by yourself? This is just my own curiosity, really.
Yeah, I do pretty much every single video by myself. Nobody else does anything. The only thing that they do is my wife gets mad when there's too much stuff. That's her involvement in this. Actually, just yesterday, my youngest kid he's now 18, but I've never really involved any of them unless I had to, because it was for like. And if people offered me something and said, well, your kid's got to be involved, I'm like, I'm out. Illinois also has some unusual laws. One of the only states in the nation that requires you that if you're going to have kids that are in your things, you have to be aware that there are laws in the state that would require some sort of compensation if it's something that. So also, because I don't want my kids on there necessarily. They don't want to be on it, especially the teenagers. They're like, absolutely not. I did just do a video yesterday that had my granddaughter's face in it. I've done some with her before from the back, and you couldn't see her face. But I did one with her yesterday. But generally, no. It's an all me business. I mean, it does take up a lot of room. I actually got some shelving getting sent to me today. I mean, I don't know. Right now, pretty much most of it starts to pile up here, and then like this other box that I got back here in the back. And this is actually lower than it was. So I got some shelving come in for this today. It does become a nuisance. There's no doubt. Of trying to sort of like manage where all this stuff ends up actually going. And so, but no involvement. Supportive wise, I think it's a weird, like sort of gray area for them of what's actually going on over here. Like they don't quite get it. It's stuff coming in every day. Like, and my wife understands it certainly to a degree, but typically I do a lot of this after everybody goes to bed. She usually has to get up by like 5:30 to go to her job, and the next morning, so she's usually in bed by like 8 or 8:30. I only have one kid left here at my house, and so he's 18. He's not. And so I'm left to my own sort of like whatever I want to do. So it's mostly me, very isolated, but I like working like that. I work very well like that.
Yeah, I'm a only child mentality too. I have I've always ran my own business, so there's occasions where I would involve people in my videos, like if I'm just having more fun with it, but as far as the business side of it, I don't think there's anybody who's just going to be lining up to be like, all right, let's go, another one.
I think this world sort of like drives me. I think I love the feeling of like accomplishment with it, strangely enough. So even though it's sort of isolating, I must be getting some sort of like personal like gratification out of like, if a strategy starts to work or whatever, because I don't ever feel like, sometimes I get burnout on like creating the videos or whatever, but as far as just this world, I don't ever feel like I need to take a break and maybe that'll come eventually at some point where I'm just like, I got to not think about the Amazon influencer program for a week or whatever the case is. I sort of enjoy it. I enjoy building, especially because I'm a creative type. I enjoy my salary job that I had up until April of this year. I was there for 7 years, but it was a startup company 7 years prior. There's like 4 of us, and I love grind. I love just like, I
Yes,
love the sacrifice
building.
of sleep and all that kind of stuff. So that's part
Yeah.
of how I'm built, I guess. Sounds like you too.
Yeah, no, that's me. That's why I literally get a business nice and ready, built up, and then I'm like, all right, peace.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, it's more fun. It's like a puzzle. Like,
yeah,
I'm figuring all this stuff out. It's like a little video game, and I'm getting all the rewards, or I'm leveling up. And
yeah,
I think some people's mind just works like that, and it can definitely help as a creator.
yeah,
So I know at one point you were kind of like doing storefront reviews and kind of
yeah,
helping people, and
yeah.
like I'm guessing there's some common threads with what people get wrong. Is there something that you see consistently that's like, okay, if you would just change this, you
Yeah.
would make more money?
Yeah, there's probably 2 sides to this. One is sort of like the approach to making videos, and then like literally the things they're touching when they're creating the videos. Like there's a tangible part and an intangible part. The intangible part is what I was saying earlier about people often miss the buyer intent of the other side of that. So whenever they're creating, they're thinking of it in terms of their own thing of like, what I need to do to make a good video. And they're not putting themselves into the shoes of the other person over there that doesn't care about you whatsoever. They just want to know about those couple of questions they might have about the product so they can feel better about making the purchase. That's the number one thing I would say across the majority of videos that I do, that I look at, that end up missing the mark is they're in their own shoes and not placing themselves in the other ones enough. From a tangibility standpoint, like, are there things that people can improve on? Like, I'm still 100% in on custom thumbnails. Nothing gaudy, but like doing a little bit of something. You know, there's YouTube did a survey a couple of years ago, and it said that out of their top performing videos, whatever that is, that 90% had custom thumbnails associated with them. I did a
Mhm.
sample size analysis, I think it was last year, and I found that over 70% of videos where the top carousel was totally full, the number one slot, it was like 72% of the time had a custom thumbnail. I don't think it was there because it was custom, but it was worth putting in my back pocket of interesting 7 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the carousel was like 60 something percent of the time, those with custom outrank those that did not. And so, because you can also take that exact same thumbnail, upload it as a secondary piece of content, standalone shoppable picture. Those get clicks from somewhere. We don't know where, but a click on a picture that
Yeah.
converts makes you the same money as a click on a video that converts. And it takes you 4 seconds more to upload that as a secondary piece of content. Other than that, I think those are probably the main 2 things. You know, one of the things I've actually been talking about a lot lately is, if we're talking about like how you're making your video and like, you know, your thumbnails and your titles and things like that. I think that something else that we have not thought enough about is that we're trying to get in a carousel, right? That's the whole point, is we want visibility. If it's selling, we need our video to get watched, which means we'd prefer to have an upper carousel and a place for us to go. But what we
Mhm.
haven't thought about enough is like, what's the other competition look like that's there? Like, we're doing all of this work with the hopes of getting into this carousel, and we're not paying attention to what anybody else is doing. And this struck me about a couple months ago because I looked at a product and they had almost the exact same title in that carousel that I put on all of mine. I think maybe people may be watching
Mhm.
what I'm doing, and I didn't pay attention to that. And I just happened to stumble across it. And I thought to myself, it seems unacceptable that I did all this work, all this product research, and I took this and I didn't take 10 seconds to take a look at the competition and see what they were doing. Because if somebody's going to look at the 5 videos that are up there, if there's 5 and I'm one of them, what am I doing to stand out? What am I doing to call out to that buyer and say, I'm the one that you need to be watching here?
Me.
Yeah. And all of a sudden I got the exact same title as this other person that has, and so I lost some uniqueness there. Like, you know, and so I implemented something into the extension. It's called a title analyzer. So whenever you're doing your upload, literally at the point of upload, it'll check to see what the other titles are on the other videos for the influencer. So you can very quickly go, okay, I should not title mine this, or this, because I can see somebody else already has something a little bit too similar or not. So that's probably the last thing I would say is we do all this work, hard work, and we haven't thought enough about, you know, any sport, you scout the opposition before you go into it. Like, if you want to win, you know how they work, how they operate, what they do in this quarter or this half or whatever the case is. And I think for us, we worked hard and blindly sent these videos off into the ether and just went, whatever happens kind of happens, which is partially true, but we have a say a bit here as far as like putting our best foot forward. So like, if we get in that carousel, what do I got to do here to make sure that like I'm the one that has the best chance of getting clicks? So I think we'd be spending more time before we actually hit that upload button, seeing what else is going on each one of these products to make sure ours is actually standing out.
Okay, so I do thumbnails on all my videos, but that's because I came from YouTube. Like I was like, what do you mean you're not going to do a thumbnail? Like that's the whole reason that somebody clicks generally. So I've always done thumbnails, but now I don't do them as involved. I just kind of hold the product or look wacky or whatever. But
and I think that's important. Like I think that if somebody doesn't want to do it, minimally center the product, because again, you're thinking, putting yourself into the shoes of the person that's watching this, the buyer's intention or the viewer's intention. They have a question not about you, but about the thing that they're watching for. So if it's like usually I've got something here. It's just like these headphones, right? So, it's like this. Somehow this needs to stay here somewhere, or me wearing it, you'll be able to see what I'm. Too many people, what I'll see is they'll make this thumbnail, and it's like a lot of them. So it's up here, and then like down here in the corner, they're like and I'm just like, that's not going to work. People need to focus, at least take a moment to center their picture and highlight the product that they're making the video for. So again, if you're in a carousel of 4 other people, then at least you can look at that easily and go, this is about that product, even if there's no arrows or anything like that on it. And I don't like a lot of like zhuzh on the things. I don't like when they replace the entire background and then it's like a bunch of stars and maybe rainbow and a whole bunch of stuff going on. If they are going to make it custom, I do like it being simple, but if they're not going to, it needs to be custom in the sense of like, take that extra 5 seconds and create something because it's your best foot forward in the carousel.
Right, absolutely. And I mean, I feel like the titles, now that you said that about someone stealing your title, I feel like that, I don't know, like the title to me, I do read those before I click sometimes. Like you can kind of get a sense of a person's personality. If every single one, it's like, watch this, what you have to know, honest review, like you need this information, otherwise you're going to make a horrible decision in life. And it's like, I just try to gauge some curiosity, like more or less just be like, okay, what are you wanting to know? Like, for example, if I'm reviewing like women's clothing and I'm reviewing a swimsuit, I might put that I'm 5 foot tall and my weight, because like there's other women who are clearly 5 foot tall and it's not easy to find clothing when you're 5 foot tall. So I guess trying to put something in there that's like very specific, very like, okay, this is like a human element. This is not like a,
well, and to that point, I do want to say, whoever did that title, I don't think they stole it. I think it's just whenever you're trying to come up with an interesting title, there's only so many sort of variations of things and so eventually things just overlap. And that's why I think that adding a little bit of something sometimes to just checking the titles, if nothing else, just to make sure that you're not close to what somebody else has, because there's so many honest variations. There's so many need to know variations. Eventually they just start to kind of overlap each other. So I think if nothing else, taking a couple of seconds and just going like, well, what's here already, just to make sure that I'm not stepping on anybody else's feet and they're not going to step. It doesn't mean they won't in the future step on your feet. Again, it's to me, it's all that work. Like take the extra 30 seconds. And I mean, with that feature in the extension, it's an extra probably 5 seconds to check the titles. But I think the titles and the thumbnails have a massive impact on if somebody is. Doesn't mean that your product, your video is always going to convert, but from a click standpoint, I have very little doubt that it is going to lead towards more clicks. It's just a matter of what your video is about, whether or not it converts or not.
Gotcha. Okay, well, so is there anything in that has happened this year, 2025? It's almost over, a couple more weeks. Anything that happened this year in your business that you were like, didn't expect that to happen, or wow, I can't believe that happened, or
creator connections. It's creator connections. It's like, and I think it's just not me. I think that we're all kind of shocked at the pivot that Amazon did this year in relation to like how much they were pouring into it. I was having conversations at the beginning of this year where we were saying, we see a world where eventually we're going to earn more through creator connections than the influencer program. And it was like 3 or 4 months later, all of a sudden they started getting like neck and neck. And you saw the number of campaigns every day going up. Now we're almost 500,000 campaigns in there. Granted, 10% of them might be a balloon company. I'm not going to say any names, but it's hard to say. And so the power of that and the shift that Amazon has taken on, that to me is the easiest one that I would say, not just me being shocked, but all those that have been around the program for a couple of years. And then we look back at what this year was, I think most would be hard pressed to say it's anything other than the evolution of creator connections. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I looked a second ago before we got on, and there was 486,000 active campaigns. And I typed in a couple things because I was like, you're always like, well, what's new? I typed in dog. There was 9,018 results. I typed in protein. There was only 179 results. I typed in baby, and there was 12,887 results.
Yeah.
So, you used to only have to sift through a little bit, but now it's like even trying to search something there is very, very like time intensive. I know you kind of have some ways around that.
Yeah.
But that's just something I thought was like, every other week you're seeing like, okay, now we're up to 150,000, now it's 200,000, now it's 300,000, and probably going to hit 500,000 active campaigns by the end of 2025. And personally, my revenue is like Creator Connections is like double my on-site, and that seems to be the trend for most people at this point.
Amazon took a page from TikTok. I think, TikTok Shop is all on the shoulders of the brands, and that's what Creator Connections ultimately is too. The brands are the ones that end up paying on these deals. And so, it'll be interesting to see what that looks like. But this was really the first year where we saw sort of that evolution of that. So this was our first holiday season with this being the way that it is, and as powerful as it is. I got a dumb cat somewhere doing knock over some of my stuff. The other thing I would say though is also of interest that was a little bit surprising is the creator reward, or not creator rewards, the creator stars program actually got some feet to it this year. And we saw two specific instances that changed this. One is the deals hub, right? Whenever Prime Day came around in August or whatever that was this year, only people that were gold or platinum had access to that, to the page. If you didn't have it, you didn't get it. So that was the first big thing, because that's a pretty powerful thing to have. And then we saw it again Black Friday. Again, they didn't have access to that, and they couldn't see it in the holiday list or anything. If you were bronze or silver, you're just basically out in the cold. But a massive boost to gold and platinum, right? Big, and so that was the first real thing. And then the other thing was, just recently they have made it so that gold and platinum are the only ones that see early access. And early access now and Creator Connections is like a 7 or 10 day period. I don't remember which one it is. So if you're bronze or silver, you're not going to see new campaigns until like a week after they have actually, everybody else has had access to them. So
I noticed that too.
Yeah.
That's like you got a week's head start in asking for it, and then then you have to have the time to ship it to your house. So you really do get ahead of them with that, which is kind of nice. I mean,
from our side, if you're gold or platinum, now before you would message a brand that was also getting messaged by everybody, all at the same time. Now all of a sudden and the majority of people I think are probably bronze or silver. So you get rid of all of those within that first week of not being able to message. If you're gold or platinum, you stand out a lot more. If you're, bronze and silver, it's not a great thing to be participating. I had to kick my cat there a little bit, chewing on something. So that to me was another big evolution thing. I actually made a video last year of predictions. I'm gonna do a follow-up this year to see how many of them I was wrong on and how many I was right on. And one of them was I thought that creator stars would actually get some teeth to it. And most of the other ones I was wrong. I will say that up front, but that was one I actually got right.
Even a broken clock is right once a day.
Yeah, I'll take it.
So as far as your video production goes, I'm gonna guess that you don't spend too much time for video, but do you have advice for people on editing? Don't edit, don't worry about it, speed up the video? What do you think, I guess, best practices? And obviously this depends on the person's personality and also like the quality of the product. If it's a $500 product, you're probably putting more effort in than a $25 product.
Yeah, I think that for me, regardless of price point, being natural will always win, right? And I do see a lot of people that use scripts, and I can hear them using the script, especially right, and because they're trying to get perfect, right? They're trying to not mess up or whatever. And I think that especially as AI continues to sort of, I don't want to say, I'm not sure if be a problem is the right phrase, but become more prevalent, and we don't know how that gets addressed in the future. It starts to sound like it sounds like that. There's been a couple that I said to them, did you read this, or was this put through an AI to do it for you? Because it sounded so much the same, almost too perfect, And so for me, do I edit? I typically sit here. I do most of my videos actually right here at my thing. I got a camera that sits overhead so I can do stuff on my desk. I turn it on and I just start going. And typically I'm trying to get through it in one take. Usually most of my videos are probably 1.5 to 2 minutes in length. If I'm working through it and I get to a point where I mess something up, I don't start over. I just take it for a second. I go 1, 2, 3. I count myself in and I pick it up from that moment there. So then later, whenever I drop it over and I'm editing, I'm basically still working through a start to end. It's just sometimes I had to do certain parts a couple of times over and over if I didn't get it the way that I
Okay.
want. But if I screw up and I'm just like I'll do jokes, I'll do like mess ups, I'll do if I make a
Bloopers.
weird noise with my mouth or something, I don't know. Like unless I fumble like on myself, right? Unless I say something that the words don't come out right or whatever the case is. But I've always recommended, I think people should, again, putting yourself in the shoes of the person that's watching this, the buyer's intention. They're looking for somebody that can relay that they feel like they can trust in some way. And I think that being flawed is part of the thing of being perfect for this program, right? It's like I am a real person that's just telling you my thoughts and some stuff about this particular product. So sometimes people get so wrapped up in editing that it takes them so long that they are stealing time away from other things they could actually be creating too, because they're trying to get things just like in a certain way. And I'm like, look, I got like one day I had 40 products sitting right here, and I was just like, doom, took a second to understand what it was, what it can do, made my videos, moved on. And by the way, also worth mentioning, I don't do review videos. I never make a video where I say I recommend something if I just got it in and I don't even really kind of understand what it is. I understand how it works. I understand the basics of it, and then I'll be able to explain it like that. But I highly recommend that if you are getting products in at a pretty high clip, most people are just getting them in, opening them, and making videos for that particular product. Do not fake it and say, here's my thing. And I've got a couple of tells. I can tell whenever people are going to do that. One is if they say game changer. One is if they say really, really. That to me is like usually a red flag. They're trying to sell me. If they say super, I feel like super is like one of the new ones there. So just, you don't have to do review videos. You can do overview videos, right? Which is just literally, again, somebody's on the other side, just like, does this thing smell? I'm just going to pick it up and go, I'm going to tell you what, it does. And that's sort of like what they were looking for. So you don't have to do a thing where you're like I've been using this for some time now. If you don't know some sort of idea of how long you've been using a thing, that means you just got it. And so try to be as natural as possible. Mess ups are totally okay. And it's a skill that you learn over time. My earlier videos, I was not as fluent as I am now, but if you can practice it and just be okay accepting those sort of like weird mess ups and making it part of the process, you just get better at doing it over and over again. So very, very minimal editing for me.
No, I've definitely become a better speaker over time. I mean, I still have a really thick Southern accent, but on some level, I'm like, maybe that's more trustworthy.
Yeah. No, it comes across as like, you're a person, I mean, and somebody might pick up on the accent, but I think ultimately that's not why they're watching it anyways, right? They're watching it. And as long as you can give them the information that they want, I think that all accents can work as long as you're delivering the information that they're looking for.
Yeah. And I think I try to insert some of my personality, like
me too. Yeah, for
I
sure.
prefer that. It's a lot less boring than the flat monotone.
Yeah.
Just kind of.
I've done dad jokes in the middle of mine. I said something one time, I don't remember what it was. I said the name of a product, and then I said that was my nickname in high school. It was something dumb. It was like like an egg flipper or something. I said, this egg flipper, that was my nickname in high school. And I was like, that's a dumb dad joke. Like I'm fine with making it somewhat conversational.
Yeah, and I'll absolutely tell stories if it's like relevant to a problem I had, and then I'm like, I remember when this happened, and So.
Oh, and maybe quickly side note, when we talk about also the creation stuff too, I think people should start moving away from the majority of their video being an unboxing video, because if you think about it from the side of the person that's watching this, they kind of already know what it comes with, unless there's something unique about what comes in the box. Otherwise, it's just like they want to know usually how something works, if it's heavy, if it stinks, etc. So I see too many people spending too much time doing unboxing. I don't know if it's just to suck up time or what it is.
I don't know.
I think it's to stay away from it. Also, introductions. I'm not a big fan of people coming and go, hey guys, it's me, it's Fizz again, and I'm back with another video. I'm not a big fan of that, because
no, they don't care.
They want to go, does this thing smell? So typically right when I jump in, I'll say, if you guys are looking at this particular product, I wanted to show it to you because maybe the company sent it to me and asked me to make this video and show you how it actually worked or something like that. Or if you're wondering about this, I want to show you exactly how this thing works. So I think people should also get away from like introducing themselves by name. Although I like personality injection, I think that you can do that through it feels like a little bit of a time waste at the beginning of the
Oh
video.
yeah.
Like I've seen some where I'm just like, are you gonna like say the thing about the thing you're making the video, or are we gonna talk about your
Yeah.
life a little bit? So that's the other kind of side note on that.
Right. And I didn't come here to watch your vlog, you
Yeah.
know. I don't care
Yeah.
about your day in the life.
I've seen one. I saw one the other day, and it was like, "It's a beautiful day here." And so I was like, "What? What is happening?" And it wasn't even related to the product because they were on the right track. They had the right intention. They were trying to connect with whoever was on the other side. But I think there's a
Yeah.
fine line of connecting versus people are busy and they just want to know something about the product kind of up front. So
Yeah.
there's a balance there that I think people should be trying to kind of follow.
Yeah. So what is a good amount of videos per month? I
Oh
know
boy. Oh,
that
so
I know it's a very nuanced question,
yeah.
but if you had
It's going to be different for everybody, right? It needs to be something, right? It needs to be, you can't do this a couple of times a week and expect to have any sort of movement. You know, when I say do it a couple of times a week, I mean, if you're going to upload 5 videos in a week, I'll be honest, it's not going to move the needle. Like it's not going to do much of anything.
Mhm.
I think that people should be targeting probably, I mean, target doesn't mean you have to hit it, but it's something that you're going to work towards. I'd like to see people doing like probably 20 videos a week, you know, 80 to 100 videos a month would be awesome.
Mhm.
I did this video a while back with my buddy Chris, and he'd been in the program for a while. Whenever I was looking at his numbers, I was just like, why do you only have X? You know, he wasn't making very much, and he's like, I don't understand why. And I was like, why do you only have X number of videos for that long of time frame? And he was just like, I don't think I've been uploading enough. And so for everybody, that's going to look different. Like for me, I have a certain number that I need to hit because I know
Mhm.
what my systems are, and my number is going to be higher than other people that are only currently able to do like 3 or 4 in a week right now. Their number that they need to hit is going to be different than the number that I need to hit. But I think it's a
Right.
good sort of number to kind of go like, I would love to be able to create 20 somehow in a week. Doesn't matter where you're at in the program. If you can hit a 20 baseline, I think you're really going to see the needle move at that point. But it really
Mhm.
depends on where you're at in your journey. And frankly, the circumstances you got, your regular job, your regular life, your family, what they're requiring you. Just keep in mind that that stuff is important, but you are going to sacrifice the influencer stuff, which might be totally fine. But if you want to do more in the influencer program, sometimes it requires a sacrifice somewhere else that you may not be able to do. And that's totally okay to understand that too. But if you can find extra time to do influencer stuff, I'd love people to do 20 a week. I just don't think it's
Yeah. Yeah.
that feels like a baseline. Even if you don't get there for 3 or 4 months, if you're working towards that as a goal, I think that'd be really good.
Yeah, I think that's when I started out, I was like 50-ish, but now I shoot for 100 a month.
Yeah.
And that way at the end of the year, you've got 1,200 more videos, which is like, you know, that compounds on some level. And I think I was going to ask you, are there any like, obviously there's been a lot of stuff lately where people are getting like ripped off the
Yeah.
carousel and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Is there any like backup stuff that you do or any like, it's almost like I'm the type of person who's like, it could all go away in a
Yeah.
minute. Like I could just wake up one day and it could be gone. I don't want to think about that, but on
Yeah.
some level, it's like, well, as a small business owner, I probably should think about that.
Yeah. I mean, it's possible in this world just as much. You know, I got laid off from my 7-year job in April. You know, stuff can happen in any particular point. Amazon's is sort of a weird ecosystem because one, we're completely in their playground. But when we do this, we're in their sandbox. We are at the mercy of if they just decide they don't want us anymore, like as an individual or a group of people or whatever, they can certainly do that and have done that before, right? It's not necessarily unheard. It's not common, but it's not something that is necessarily unheard of. I think when you're talking about participating in the influencer program, one is you accept that up front. It's whenever I was doing blogging, I started that in 2021. I had a blog that was actually rocking, and Amazon or Google changed their algorithms in September of 2023. It was something called the helpful content update, and all that work that I did basically went nowhere. And a bunch of small publishers got crushed. And as devastating as that was, Google owed nobody anything. Like Google, you
Right.
know, what are they going to? There was no business agreement. There was no nothing. It was just like we made
Right.
content, and Google decided if they wanted to place it or not. And so even though it was hard financially for a lot of people, at the end of the day, we were in their sandbox. And it's similar with any of these online ventures that you're really kind of dealing with. It doesn't matter if it's with Amazon or if it's with Google or if it's Walmart or with YouTube or whatever. Like we're on their platforms. We don't own sort of that. As far as like how would you diversify from that? Or plan for that. One is I do keep all the videos that I make. I don't know exactly what I would do with them because I haven't had to kind of come up with it. People talk a lot about repurposing over to YouTube, and that does have some viability there. It's much harder to scale. You really have to build that up over time.
I'm working on mine right now by YouTube. I've got like a review channel, and I think I've got around 500 videos on it. I've got almost enough, like halfway to get monetized,
Yeah.
but that's like been like a year.
Yes,
Like,
it's very slow because if you think about it, I would never subscribe to just like a general review channel because people go to YouTube a lot of times to either learn something or because they're following a specific category or niche or something, and like a generalized review channel is just harder to scale, right? But
yeah.
it's viable. It's just not you can't expect a lot out of it, especially within probably that first year as you've seen there.
Yeah,
Um,
I just kind of look at it as like a potential income stream down the road, and then of course it also it's a place for brands to find me
yep.
to do paid stuff, so
Yeah.
that kind of
Yeah.
works
I
out.
mean, backup accounts, you can't really have a backup account in the influencer program per se. You should really only have like the one storefront. And so really
Hmm.
you're just kind of doing the best you can and sort of like appreciating while you're in it, as long as you're in it, and presuming most people don't ever run into problems within the program, and it can go on for who knows how long at this point.
Yeah,
Several people I know have been in it for 6 years or maybe 7 years in doing this. So, I do look around for other, obviously the TikTok stuff and the shop there and opportunities
oh
there.
yeah,
YouTube, they're still rolling out new affiliate stuff for their stuff for YouTube shopping. But when we talk about sort of like branching off from the influencer program and how do we sort of safeguard or protect ourselves, I think
hmm,
it's really hard to have any sort of like real answer for that other than you continue to put your best foot forward, continue to try to
yeah,
make good quality videos, stay within Amazon's rules, the best that they can relay them,
yeah,
and understand that it is sort of a unique and dynamic space, and constantly be looking around and say, well, what else is also out there? It doesn't mean you have to take anything away from the influencer program, but sometimes a door can show you where there's other doors. Blogging for me opened the door to the influencer program. And even though the blogging thing fell apart,
hmm,
this has obviously picked up and done very, very well. But this also has opened up other doors for me also that I didn't know that existed. So
yeah,
don't
yeah,
probably the best advice is don't assume that this is your end all be all and that you have really much control over it. Use this as a doorway to show you where other opportunities are at, and that's probably the best way you can safeguard yourself or protect yourself.
yeah. That's I kind of look at it like a don't put all your eggs in one basket kind of thing. Which I have multiple income streams, but my YouTube channel got demonetized this
Mm.
past year, and like a lot of people that would have been it for them. They're like,
Yeah,
well, that's the only thing I have. But like, I'm like, oh, my YouTube still makes money off of like other things like brand deals and affiliates and stuff like that. So it's like, it wasn't devastating. It sucked,
yeah,
obviously.
yeah,
But it was like, that is something that you're like, those things are just out of my control. Like
yeah,
I don't own YouTube. So there's not
yeah.
much I can really do. I can't really go talk to them about it.
Yeah, well, it's like an octopus, right? They got so many different things that they're always sort of like grabbing 8 legs, like legs, tentacles.
Hmm.
And to be honest, there are people that are able to do the online space much, much better than me. Again, sort of those organized people that have those going on in areas that I don't even have context for yet. I just haven't gotten there yet. So Amazon is obviously a big name. YouTube is a big name. Walmart actually has their affiliate program, their similar type of thing to what we've got in Amazon. So there's a lot of different places to go with it. It's just a matter of trying to figure out like, okay, like based on what I'm doing now, what's possible? What have I learned about? And sometimes you hear about something. I used to say no to everything. Like when I first heard about blogging, I was like, no, that sounds stupid. Whenever I heard about the influencer program, I was like, that sounds like a ripoff. And I tried to get
Yeah,
to the mindset of like, maybe just pay more attention. So sometimes participating in something like this can help you pay attention whenever something else comes along and go, okay, maybe that's a
that's
good place for one other tentacle to kind of go to.
yeah, like keep your eyes open for
Mhm.
opportunities. So as far as like UGC, brand deals, getting paid for your reviews, do you encourage people to do that? Do you do that? I know for me, it's almost a waste of time. It's the back and forth is really a lot, and
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
expectation from the brands is really a lot.
I don't do much as far as brand deals. I know some people that do, and they do it very well. And you have to earn that, right? So somebody's going to get in fresh to the Amazon influencer program. They can't be looking around going, "Where's my brand deals?" Like that's
Mhm.
not going to happen. Like you have to basically earn the right to get up to that point. And I think once you do, then it's probably worth it, right? But that's not the type of deals somebody's going to get when they're brand new are not going to be the same type of deals as somebody else that's been around for a little bit. UGC, I've done very, very little of it. To be honest, I've only done it for a couple of companies that actually, like literally the hat that I'm wearing right now. I used to do TikTok and Instagram stuff for them,
Mhm.
but I don't because it was time consuming for me, and I feel like I was just they'd give me a brief, and I feel like it was just taking me too long to make all the different videos.
Yeah.
The paid reviews, if you're talking about like if for Amazon influencer side, if somebody's willing to pay you some money to make a video for a wallet or whatever the case is,
Right.
I don't mess around with that too much anymore. I've seen too often where people get so hung up on that $10 or $20 that they were choosing products that was going to make them $10 or $20, but may have costed them $40 or $50 by the time that they created the video for it. And, time is money.
Yeah.
And I also think that people would then like spend that time and not make any money on the commissions on that because the product was never actually going to sell. So I feel like people were being a little bit short-sighted in regards to like that was their victory. That was like that's how I'm going to make my money. And part of me would just be like, but there's other products that are going to make you more if you just like go that 10 and they go, well, they're gonna have to pay me up front. I'm like, but there's other ones offering this to you. They're not going to pay you $10, but this is actually a better product that might be able to make you 50 in the first month. So some people still pay me. I don't really ever ask for it anymore. If somebody does it and they just do it and I'm not expecting it, that's great. But I make my product decisions based off of what I think is the best chance for like as long-term as possible for commissions to come in and things to pop later on. And for me, that $10 just doesn't do anything. I also think we're getting into a situation where, because there's so many people in the program, I actually think that a lot of at least from the Amazon influencer side, people offering money for you to shoot a $10 or $20 video, I actually think that's going to keep going down. I think that we're going to see that that's going to get less and less.
Well, when somebody will do it for free,
somebody will do it for free, and some people will pay for that opportunity. And that's something that I've come across a decent amount probably over the last 6 months. That if you got a bunch of influencers that are like, give me $10, and you got somebody else goes, hey, that's $100 product. I'll give you $10 if you send that to me. I think that's going to become more common too. So, but to be honest, so much of my time and attention is not in this particular realm. It's on the market research, shoppable video on-site side. So that's really, because to me, it's the most scalable, right? That's where I can actually like do, pick products that I have some sort of control over, and you get good over time is sort of just like seeing where the opportunity is going to be for the longest. So that's just where I prefer to spend my time.
Okay. So I have 2 more questions and then we'll probably wrap up. And I really appreciate your time, by the way. You've been really helpful to me. So I just started, I think 4 or 5 months ago, to where I hit the 1,000 a month. And I was like, okay, this could be something, you know what I mean? Like this might be a little bit more than a side hustle. So I guess as far as like building to 1K, is there a template for that? Is that just like you've got to grind and you've got to learn? Personally, now I know if I would have done XYZ different, then I could have got here a lot faster. What do you say to somebody who's like, I just need an extra 1,000 a month that could really change someone's life or change their family's life? I feel like that's a lot of money to some people.
Yeah. So this to me is maybe one of the easiest ones to answer, even though it's anyway. So my first month in the program, I've told this story before. I made $2,000 in my first month in the program. So if we're talking about just money, right? And I've done 140 something videos. I think whenever I went back and looked, like it wasn't very many videos, and it popped. And in my brain, what I thought was, I've broke the code. I figured it out. And now if I do another 140 next month, and then I do it again, I started to scale it in my brain of like, oh, I'm going to be at $10,000 in like 4 or 5 months, whatever the case is. Right. And so I doubled down, tripled down on my videos. And a year later, I look back and I wasn't making much more. I think it was like $3,000 compared to the first month, which was $2,000, which sounds great. But from a scalability standpoint, I was like, something went wrong. That's what we were talking about earlier. Eventually you get to realize something's off. But it taught me another valuable lesson was like, well, why did that happen? Why did I make the $2,000 the first month? And it's because what I realized is because of the products that I chose. Really 2 products. I made 140 videos, but there was 2 products that really caused it to pop. One of them was a push mower thing. It doesn't have a mower on it, but it's like one of the old school ones with the blades on it, just kind of a little area of my yard. And the other one was a $10 electrical outdoor outlet cover thing, and it popped. And those 2 things helped propel me to those $2,000 within that. For a couple of other things contributed slightly, but nothing like those 2 things there did. And so when we talk about what does it take, one of those covers can kind of do it. You know what I mean? It's what we were talking about earlier. It's the product selection. This is why it's so important, is because like that's what can make or break. It was the thing that propelled me, even though I didn't understand that first month, into making that money. And it was also the thing that held me back over the course of the next year, that kept me from scaling in the same ways, because I didn't understand the power of correct product selection. And that right there, when you talk about what is there something can do, is learning that part of it. And some stuff you'll stumble into, good or bad, but as to keep that seed planted of like, 1, if you continue to be consistent, and 2, look for those types of opportunities and focus on those types of opportunities, because winging it won't do it. Like I know some people that have several thousand videos and are under $1,000 a month because they had done most of those videos. I think most of them are correcting this now, but they did them whatever they could get their hands on, and it ended up not being a winning strategy. You got to be strategic, and you got to be targeted with the products you're selecting, and that right there is the path. It's the consistency, and a couple of good products sometimes is the thing that can actually do it.
Yeah, I know I did a lot better when I started looking at the numbers. It seems like the data-driven people, the more analytical people are really outperforming the creative type of people.
Yeah.
Because the creative people are thinking, oh, it's about the good videos, and the data people are like, I know exactly what I'm like gonna order, and like I know how many units it's gonna sell, and I know how many people are on the carousel. So I would just encourage people to use some kind of extension, because oh my gosh, you just can't pour over listings. Like your eyes will glaze over trying to look at all of that stuff on there. But as far as like 1K a month, I think I just looked at some of my numbers for like 2025, and one product made up 15% of my on-site commissions this year. And it was something we already owned, but I didn't put much thought into it, and there wasn't a lot of effort into the video, about the same amount of effort as any of my videos. So it's just kind of those outliers, I guess, that are like, if you make enough videos, hopefully, like some of them kind of pop off and you get kind of lucky with it.
Yeah, I know a guy right now. He's got like 600 to 700 videos, so not a lot in comparison to like what somebody else. And he's making like 6 to 7 grand because he started with video one by doing this stuff, by being which we didn't do, right? We didn't realize this back whenever we started, but now with the tools and the knowledge and things that are out there from day one, that's what he does. Now he invests, right? So he buys stuff and he turns around and he invests it. He doesn't do any collaboration stuff through Creator Connections. He does look for opportunities with Creator Connections, but he's just like, if I think it's gonna make me money, I'm gonna get it right now. So it's really a matter of, my dad, I say this sometimes, and it's such an awful phrase, but my dad used to say there's a bunch of different ways to skin a cat. And I was like, I don't know who is skinning cats or what. I hope it's a phrase. I hope it's not a real thing, but it's like, there's a lot of different ways to do it. But it all seems to come back to the consistency and the product selection. At the end of the day, everything else becomes peripheral. If you can lock those two things down and get a strategy around those, Creator Connections will fall into place. The commissions will fall into place. Everything else will be, but it's a hard thing to solve, right? A consistent stream of those products coming in, where are they going to come from? Like, if you can't or don't want to invest, fine. Then where are they going to come from? You're going to ask for stuff from sellers and Creator Connections, fine. But what if they ignore you? I'll go to my friends and family. Well, what if they hate you? Like that. It's the product pipeline, and solving this is the hardest part of the program to solve. But the ones that can come up with that consistent stream of products, they're the ones that end up actually getting somewhere. The ones that are just like, I know that I need this, and without it, there's not going to be any success or scalability. So you have to come up with a good, consistent stream of products.
Awesome. Okay. So last question. Do you have any goals for yourself, for your business for 2026? Like when you think about, okay, the next 12 months, is there something that you're aiming towards, or are you just saying, I'm going to keep doing more of the same?
Yeah, I haven't thought about it yet. I mean, maybe I will as we kind of get into the last couple of weeks of December, but not really. Just because, if I would have done that last year, I probably did. I just never would have guessed what things turned into this year with Creator Connections and with Oink, honestly, like between all of that stuff. But even extension aside, when we're talking about just as an Amazon influencer, there was no way of predicting what was getting ready to happen. And so I think for me, because I can see now that there is this sort of movement behind Creator Connections going into 2026. I think there's going to be a lot of changes still continuing to come in 2026. So from a personal standpoint, I don't even like doing well, if I can just do X commissions this year, I don't even like necessarily doing that because, that ends up sort of being like a sum of my efforts. What you put into it ends up kind of being what you get out of it. And so I don't typically like shoot for a specific target. If anything, I might look at the end of the year and go like from a daily schedule standpoint, or like create some sort of like targets for my own sort of behaviors this year, so that the outcome might end up being something else. But as of right now, I tend to be more of a wing it.
Okay, that's all right. It seems like it's working for you.
It's I find desk wood to knock on. It is, it's a volatile program. I mean, even though consistently it's pretty much the exact same, the strategy, as I said earlier, is my strategy now isn't even what it was 6 months ago, or like what it was a year ago within the same year, just because of the way that the program is evolving, even though it typically still works generally the same. It's just like there's always sort of these nuances and things like that. So my main goal is always to stay pliable and to stay like teachable. So whenever something changes, whenever something updates, is to make sure that I can roll with that however I need to.
Yeah, I like that. Adaptable, able to, roll with it. Some
Try
people
to.
get stuck in that mentality of like, well, I was doing this and it was working, but now it's not working.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you got to do something else now.
Yeah. What are you waiting on? It usually doesn't straighten itself out.
All right. Well, I really appreciate your time.
Yeah.
I
Thanks for
wanted
letting me
to,
do it. Of course.
plug you, and you have a YouTube channel. Where all can people find you?
I do, and I don't even remember what it's called. I'm an awful salesperson.
I'll link it.
Yeah, it was. Let me see. I have to fix the channel. I don't even remember what it was called. Isn't that awful? At Oink for Influencers is what it is.
Okay.
I had to go and see what the actual title of it was. Yeah, you can find me on. I mean, for that Oink for Influencers, I have a free Facebook group too for Amazon influencers to join and jump in there. I've got almost 4,500 people in there now. So a lot of influencers in there just chatting about the program and things like that. And generally that's pretty much it.
All right. Oh, so YouTube, Facebook, and I'll link everything in the description. Really appreciate your time here, dropping all the knowledge bombs, and I hope that you have a good rest of the year.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you for having me.